I'd like to call the regular board meeting of February 5th for the Huron Valley Schools to order. Madam Secretary, could I have a roll call, please?
Absolutely. Ms. Grzymkowski.
Here.
I am present. Ms. Ryan.
Here.
Ms. Dodd.
Here.
Ms. Cotter.
Here.
Mr. Dimick.
Here.
And Mr. Wiseman.
Here. If you are
Present.
able, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next on the agenda is approval of the agenda. Before I ask for a motion, I'd like to make a friendly amendment to this agenda. It's really a reordering of items. What I'd like to do is in Section 2, move Section A, items from the board president, down after recognition in school presentations. That would be a friendly amendment as it relates to the order. Is there any other amendments to the agenda other than that? If not, could I have a motion to accept the agenda?
I make a motion that the Board of Education approve the agenda as presented.
And I'll support that.
All right. Motion was made by Member Dimick, seconded by Member Cotter. Any other discussions or changes? Seeing none, may I have a roll call?
Mr. Dimick.
Yes.
Ms. Cotter.
Yes.
Ms. Dodd.
Yes.
Ms. Ryan.
Yes.
I am a yes. Ms. Grzymkowski.
Yes.
And Mr. Wiseman.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Before we have recognition, I would like to thank all of you for being here at the Huron Valley Board of Education meeting. We, as always, welcome our Huron Valley School community's input and comments. A public comment section will be available for 15 minutes, which includes both action and non-action items during Section 3 of this agenda. Additional comments will take place, if needed, during Section 7 of the agenda, unless the comments is related to an item that will be voted on tonight. This is a time for our community to make comments on concerns as it relates to agenda or non-agenda items, or to provide information to the board. It really is not a time for us to make comments, but to listen to each and every one of you. If there is something that is encapsulated within those comments that need attention by the administration, I, as board president, will turn that information over to the superintendent, who will get back to those individuals. So with that, I turn this over to Dr. Salah, recognition, Huron Valley Heroes.
Did we move the communications and reports? Board president items?
Yes, we did move that.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. We've got a nice full audience. I'm glad you're all here this evening. For recognitions, we're going to start off with the Huron Valley Hero, and the individual who will be taking this particular agenda item is Ms. Rothler, our Director of Communications and Community Relations.
Good evening. It is no surprise that it takes an entire community for our students to achieve success. Our educators, parent involvement, and systems and programs in place to help meet those needs. Tonight, we want to recognize an incredible program at Oak Valley Middle School. It is our mentorship program. A group of volunteers meets with students once a week to encourage them along their education path. The student receives focus and time that they may not be able to get in a larger class setting. Tonight, we want to recognize one of those parent mentors who has really been a catalyst for this program. Ms. Kelly Dungan works tirelessly to coordinate the schedules and to make sure this program continues to be successful for Huron Valley students. So if Kelly, along with Oak Valley Principal Sean Durso and Board Member Denise Pastana, can join me up here. Ms. Pastana, who is also a proud member of the Parent Mentorship group, can join me. And if Ms. Durso or Ms. Pastana would like to say a few words.
Middle school is not always easy, and for folks that have a middle school child of their own to come into our building and suddenly have 500 middle school kiddos that you're dealing with, it's sometimes a lot. But Kelly jumps in full force. By the way, should I mention that none of her kids are in our building any longer? But She has stuck with Oak Valley. She has stuck with the Parent Mentor Program. She has influenced, I can't count how many lives in a positive way. She holds our mentors to task. She doesn't let people slide because she knows that that consistency of that important adult in a young kid's life is so important. She gives of her time, her energy, and most importantly, of her heart. And I am grateful for her and all of the things that she has done for children that are not her own, but they are in her community and they are in her local school, and she's behind them 100%. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart on behalf of all of our kiddos for everything that you have done for us.
So I've been a part of the mentor program since its inception 16 years ago. And it was started with a counselor, Deb Giola, at Oak Valley. And then when Deb moved on, Kelly stepped in seamlessly and does more than anybody would ever expect her to do. She keeps us online. If there's something going on, snow days, she'll send out emails. She'll let everybody know how important it is to be there for your kids. And Sean said it best. I mean, you just couldn't run the program without her dedication, her passion, and her heart. And so Kelly, on behalf of the school board and all of us, I would like to bestow this honor to you for outstanding representation of Huron Valley Schools. And I'd also like to give you a coin. Our coin was designed by, I gotta look at it. Our coin was designed, and it says, inspiring and building futures one student at a time. And that's certainly what you do. So thank you.
I just want to thank both Sean and Denise for supporting us. I want to thank the board for supporting us, the parents that come and volunteer for our program. We always need more volunteers. I'm a big believer of this program. With all the changes in the district, I know it is challenging. I hope this program continues no matter what the district looks like. I'm a big believer that we should continue this at the high school level. You know, these students need this additional support. I know the staff at these schools need the support of our parents, and we have parents that just so graciously give of their time and their love for these students and helping them and making that connection with an adult. So I just want to thank you all. It is something I firmly believe in. I believe it's part of our motto that not one child is left behind, and that they always have someone in their corner. So I just want to thank you all, and thank you for letting me hold you all to task. They get a lot of emails from me, and they are so gracious, and they never tell me to be quiet, so thank you.
We'll take a picture with the board, but first.
Okay.
Any questions or comments by any board members? Yes, Amy.
I just want to add my thanks. My children have all gone through Oak Valley, and I know several children that have been involved in the mentorship program, and you're right. Parents need that extra support, that person who will just reinforce really great behavior and really great skills, things that make kids successful. To be that sympathetic ear, to sometimes be a shoulder to cry on. So I really appreciate the fact that you go above and beyond. And this is a replicatable program. Everyone could do this program.
Absolutely.
And like you, I hope this is not something that we can carry on throughout Huron Valley. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you, Amy. Any other comments? Kelly, thank you very much. Obviously, the key word here, and Denise mentioned it, and so did you, was volunteer. And every group of volunteers need a leader, and you certainly are that leader, and you certainly are that glue that makes it happen. And this program, which certainly can be replicated throughout the district, relies on volunteers, and it really is embedded into the culture of this district. And it is something that I truly believe will never go away, and in fact needs to be replicated throughout the district. At the same time, I don't want anybody to have the idea that this is the only thing that Kelly is involved in, because Kelly is extraordinarily involved in a variety of things within this district, participates in a variety of activities, does some coaching on the side, and is one of those shining stars that make this school district hum, and you really are part of that, what Huron Valley is all about. And I just want, on behalf of the board, thank you for everything you do, not only in this program in Oak Valley, but throughout the district as a whole. So once
Thanks,
again, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
If we can get the board members up for a quick picture. Tonight, we would also like to recognize several of our Huron Valley School students this evening that have excelled in their high school language proficiency before they have even entered high school. I would like to invite Lennon Nemeth up now to introduce us to these students and to tell us more about their achievements.
All right. Good evening. Tonight I have the great pleasure of introducing a group of exceptional 8th grade students who have not only embraced the challenge of mastering a world language, but also successfully demonstrated the proficiency through a very challenging language assessment. And I think they're all behind me. STAMP stands for Standards-Based Measurement of Proficiency. Each year in Huron Valley, we offer this optional assessment to 8th grade students who have either excelled in a language at home or studied another language and can earn high school credit through their proficiency on this assessment. Oops, there we go. The STAMP assessment is offered in many different languages, I believe 15, and this year, 23-24 school year, we provided it in 4 separate languages: German, Spanish, Ukrainian, and Japanese. And it's an online assessment, and there are 4 separate parts. Students have to demonstrate their ability to read, write, speak, and listening. So as I said, it's a challenging assessment because it's not just about whether a child can understand a language and speak a language. They also have to be able to read and to write in that language. And for our world language requirement for high school, there are 2 credits that are required as part of our HVS grad requirements, and students who meet a proficiency level on the STAMP can test out of those 2 credits. We have eligibility criteria is that they receive a 3 or higher in all 4 domains: reading, writing, speaking, and listening. If they do receive a 3 or higher, they will get 2 credits. If they receive a 2 or above on each of the 4 domains, they will receive 1 credit. No credit is provided for anything below a 2. And I am happy to report that all of the students who attempted the STAMP this year, all of them earned at least 1 credit. It was remarkable. So I would like to congratulate 11 Huron Valley 8th graders who have received this high school credit for their outstanding performance on the STAMP assessment. I would also like to thank those students who have come tonight to be recognized, as well as their families and their teachers and their building principals that are in the audience. And I would also like to invite Member Cotter up to the podium. She is going to honor these students with their certificates while I read their names. So students, I will do my absolute best not to mispronounce anybody's name, and I apologize in advance if I do. So I think what we're going to do is have you come up when your name is called, and then maybe stay up here right in front of the screen for a picture. Okay. First of all, we have Eric Board from Muir Middle School. German, 2 credits. Enrique Barajas, Oak Valley Middle School, Spanish, 2 credits. Okay. Giselle Blazek, Oak Valley Middle School, Spanish. Okay. Marilyn Godoy, Oak Valley Middle School, Spanish. Okay, getting my cues. Catherine Godoy Ortiz, Oak Valley Middle School, Spanish. Yui Oshio, Oak Valley Middle School, Japanese. Andre Reiko, Oak Valley Middle School, Ukrainian. Ashley Cobaluna, White Lake Middle School, Spanish. Sonia Frias Robles, White Lake Middle School, Spanish. Sophia Gamaz, White Lake Middle School, Spanish. Kaylin Velasquez, White Lake Middle School, Spanish. Yes.
On behalf of our Board of Education, we're very pleased to present these students with certificates of their achievement. And to those that couldn't be with us tonight, please understand that it's a hard day's work to be in school all day, and I certainly appreciate the fact that some of our students were able to be here. We'll certainly get the certificates to the other students. But again, on behalf of the board, thank you for all you do, and congratulations on your achievement. So if you'll stay there, we're going to get a picture.
Before we have a picture, anybody on the board like make any comments or any questions to the 4 individuals that are up here? You caught a break. Oh, you got one? All right.
So I had the opportunity to go into one of the classes at Oak Valley Middle School that teaches I Remember You from Ukraine, and your whole class trying to figure out what my job was, and my job was that I serve on the school board. So I was so impressed with your class when I was there, and I'm so incredibly impressed with all of you for doing this. This is a major achievement because not only are you showing proficiency in the languages you tested on, but also you are working hard in English and math and science and social studies and all those other things we're teaching. So congratulations. We're so proud of you.
Great. Thank you, Member Dodd. Any other comments? I have one. And I'm so impressed because the proficiencies that you have to master are in reading, writing, speaking, and listening. And what I'm so impressed with is the 4th one, listening. Because I, unfortunately, can only speak one language, and the majority of people in our country, unfortunately, can only speak one language. So that makes you special. But part of your proficiencies was listening. And I just wish that more people would listen to each other. And you already are proficient at that, right? Not only in English, but in a foreign language. So I congratulate you, and maybe you can help all of us listen better, too. So thank you very much. Now it's picture time. We have a couple more presentations. Those that were just honored now certainly can stay for them, but if you have other obligations or would like to leave, we won't take offense. Next on the agenda is school presentations. Dr. Salah.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just saw Mr. Digsby walk out into the hallway. It makes me a little nervous because he's up next. So he's taking a quick picture. So I can tap dance here for a moment. We'll just give him a minute. There he is, the proud principal of Muir Middle School, Mr. Steve Digsby. I will invite you to the podium.
All right, feels like a middle school night here tonight, which is always nice to see all of us in the building. Good evening. Tonight I have the opportunity to shine a light on a remarkable program that embodies the spirit of collaboration and mentorship, and that's Muir's Web Leadership Peer Tutoring Program. WEB stands for Where Everybody Belongs. This is a group of 8th graders and a few 7th graders who have dedicated their time to this special program. Led by Michelle Doggett, Muir's leadership students have a daily impact on our school community. From orientation to Web Olympics, supporting teachers, our peer PBIS activities, and our web leaders, they are actively involved on a daily basis in shaping the culture at Muir Middle School. While many of these programs are highlighted on our social media platforms, our web tutoring program is a bit more under the radar. This is a program that some of our leadership students volunteer to be a part of, and they help tutor our 6th and 7th graders who could use some additional support, both in academics and in the organization category. Our peer tutoring program makes a difference in the lives of both our mentors and mentees, as well as the school community as a whole. I'm thankful to have such caring, dedicated, and hardworking students who give up their own seminar time to invest in others. Our tutoring program goes beyond improving academic performance. It cultivates a sense of responsibility, leadership, and empathy among our student body. We have 17 students who have volunteered to be a part of this wonderful program. All 17 are listed on the screen there, but tonight we have 4 of our leadership tutors in attendance who will share more about their experience. At this time, I would like to introduce and invite up Liam Arnold, Mira Bender, Ryan Donahue, and Henry Ventura.
So the web tutoring program is during seminar on 2 days a week, either Monday and Wednesday or Tuesday, Thursday. A couple kids from 6th or 7th grade that need help with school and homework would get picked, and a web leader would get matched with one of the kids and help them with homework or missing assignments. The first couple of days in the program would be an introduction to one another and learn each other's strengths and weaknesses. The rest of the year would be the web leader teaching the 6th or 7th grader things they need help on or working on homework with each other. If their grades are back to normal and don't think they need help anymore, they can go back to their own seminar for the rest of the year and switch out with another kid who needs help. It's overall just a very helpful place for most of the students getting tutored and really shows some improvements in grades throughout the year.
So I chose to join this tutoring program because I think it's a great opportunity to help others in areas that they need it. Being able to connect with students one-on-one, giving them extra assistance in the subjects they need, and a familiar face to come back to work with every week has really been a positive experience for me and the students I have tutored. Having been a new student in this school a couple of years ago, I know what a big transition it is from elementary school to middle school. Seeing the students gain confidence with their homework and their growth over time makes this program worth joining. It has inspired me to continue mentoring as I go into high school next year to see how I can continue helping others.
The Web Leadership Tutoring Program acts as a support system to students who are still finding their way in middle school. It is a very beneficial resource to students who struggle with organization skills, completing homework, or need help in a certain subject. I have been working with students for the past 2 years, and seeing their grades get better over time and missing assignments drop is such a great benefit of the program. Knowing that you can make a difference to someone is why we do it. Tutoring is a way to make a new friend in the school or to have someone who can help when you need it, which is why overall web tutoring is such an important aspect of the leadership team and the school.
Students helping other students be more successful is a really cool concept. Not everyone is comfortable with asking questions to their teachers or parents, so to have someone that is going through the same experiences might make it easier for them and less stressful for them to find the help that they need. Middle school can definitely be overwhelming at times, but making a connection with another student is about more than just doing homework. We also help them stay organized, keep on track, and in the end it can result in making a new friend. We applied to be web leaders at MIR because we want to continue to help people as they transition into middle school and also help them figure out things along the way. Hopefully, as more people participate in the web tutoring program, they'll see that it's okay to need help.
So thank you. Excellent job, web tutors. Any questions or comments for our students here?
Any questions, comments? Yes, Jacob.
Just a comment. First off, you guys are extremely well-spoken, and thank you for the terrific explanation of what you guys are doing. I think that's tremendous that you are taking the time out of your free time and you're giving back to people that, your younger classmates, and definitely setting a terrific example even for us adults. So well done.
Thank you, Jacob. Any other comments? I looked at my partner over here to my left, and all I said was, wow. And I think that encapsulates how impressed I am with all four of you, not only in your presentation skills, but what you bring to your school. Because the skills that you are providing and the opportunities that you're providing to younger students are not only extraordinarily important, but you truly are leaders also. And the things that you are learning are not only going to carry over this year as 8th graders, but into high school and well beyond high school. You truly make me feel good about our future with people and young people like yourselves. So I want to say thank you to all four of you, and please pass on my appreciations and my respect for everyone else at MIR that's providing these opportunities for students, because truly kids feel more comfortable. Just like teachers learn a lot from teachers, students learn a lot from students. And just want to once again say thank you. Appreciate it. Now I believe Dr. Slough.
Thank you, yes. And as Mr. Digsby said, the theme tonight is middle schools. So we have the proud principal, Michelle Chatkowski from, or I should say Miss Chatkowski, from White Lake Middle School, and she's making her way to the podium.
Good evening. I am Michelle Chatkowski, as Dr. Slough said, proud principal of White Lake Middle School. Thank you so much for having us here tonight and giving us an opportunity to brag a little bit about our English language learning program. As our EL program has grown over the last several years, we have been so fortunate to have the support of our lead teacher and building coordinator, Jennifer Fogelman. Right behind me, snuck behind me. Jennifer has shown a passion for leading our efforts, even going back to school to receive a special endorsement. So that is dedication, going back to school. So I'm going to hand it over to Jennifer, and she's going to speak to you a little bit about that program.
Good evening. Thank you for having us. Our students were disappointed that they couldn't be here tonight. If you'll recall, we were on the schedule a couple of months ago, and we were ready. We were so ready. And then when I said, hey, it's coming up, they said, no. And I said, you have to make a video. And they said, okay, because, that's what their generation does. But I wanted to talk just a little bit. Mr. Wiseman, you were very quick to notice that the students who just took the STAMP test were experiencing in their native languages or their home languages, reading, writing, speaking, and listening. Monumental task then to turn around and also be doing it in English. And wow, it is amazing. I have students, and we all do, but who are speaking one language at home exclusively and coming to school and having to do everything in English. And it is amazing, and it's a testament to the hard work that they've done, the desire to be successful, and they do wish they could be here to show off what they've learned and their skills. But thank you for letting us have the video. As we were preparing for our original presentation, thank you all for responding to our emails. We were practicing those inputs and outputs. We brainstormed ideas, so they had to communicate. We talked about their how they would write emails to you. You responded, so they had to read. And then we put together some speaking pieces. But it's not just in that language support class that we have. It is in every classroom in our building, supporting every student with the way they teach vocabulary, the way they're working with reading, the way they're creating group projects. Ms. Tchaikovsky was very kind to say my name, but it is such a complete team effort with the family connections, with our teachers, with our support staff, and with students working together. So this really is a celebration, not just of our ELs, but of all of our students at White Lake, because one of the things we've learned is that if our support helps one student, it's going to help them all. And I think you'll see that in our presentation. We are this week getting ready to take the WIDA Access test, which will give us some scores on those 4 domains. I think we have some real expectation to have some students continue to show their growth and perhaps test out of their of needing support. They're going to address in their presentation how they did last year and the growth that White Lake kids showed. So with that, I will ask you to show the video, please.
Thank you. So as you can see, there's so much to be proud of. Our kids are amazing, and you can see that even though she doesn't want to take a whole lot of credit, that a lot of that starts with Mrs. Fogelman and her passion that so clearly came through when she was speaking with you. So any questions for us?
Questions? Yes, Laura.
I had one, I feel like it's kind of gone out. I would say my biggest question is, when new students come in, what's their biggest challenge in our schools and our community that you think we could help address in some way, shape, or form that we're not already doing, or maybe that we're not doing enough of?
That's a really good question. I guess it would be almost 2 years ago, we were lucky enough to have a Ukrainian student arrive. And we weren't prepared back then. I'll be honest, we didn't know what we were doing. We have, and this is under the leadership of Jill McDonald, we're preparing for an audit of our EL program, and we have developed better protocols to work with our newcomers. I think there are a couple of things that we need to do very quickly is we need to assess where students are and reach them where they are. When students have more literacy in their first language, it's easier to adapt literacy in English. It's also a family that we're bringing in. Sometimes they come from trauma, sometimes they haven't been in school, sometimes they've been migrant in moving. So we really need to almost prepare for any possible scenario. And with our newcomer packet and our newcomer protocols, I think we're one step closer to being successful anytime a student comes in, and we're able to bring them in right away into the fold.
Thank you. Great question. Any other comments? Amy?
At the end of the presentation, your students said that you need more training, and they really enjoyed their the interaction with the high schoolers. Could you explain a little bit about some additional training that would be helpful to you, and maybe not individually, but you as a group? And then secondly, can you tell us a little bit about that high school interaction?
Oh, for sure. One of the best trainings that we can provide our teachers, and this is a K-12 or pre-K 12 opportunity, would be for sheltered instruction. We support teachers, can help with the language as much as we possibly can, but it's the content teachers. When the content teachers know how to reach students through word walls, through pre-teaching vocabulary, through giving support there, we can get more deeper learning. So we support teachers, want to continue giving our teachers more skills. And, Oakland Schools does some stuff along the way, but we're also, I think the EL teacher group, I think we're becoming stronger, and we can start giving that support as well. I mean, I remember when I started in the district, maybe we had a dozen, learners, and now we've got 250, and it's growing all the time. So we need to be preparing our teachers and giving them as much as we can. As far as this was exciting, and the kids are asking for all the time, when are we going to do this again? It is the benefit of being on a campus that you've talked about quite a bit in the last few months. We have connected with the language learners at the high school. We have made food from our own homelands, walked over there and had a party. And we ate and we talked and we practiced. And let me tell you, we've eaten well. We have, I'm not gonna lie. But it's really great because it gives kids a connection to see what the older kids are doing, to practice their language skills. And for our 8th graders who might be getting a little nervous about moving to the high school, one easy way to introduce them to Lakeland High School, where they are also very welcoming and supportive of our language learners.
Great, thank you. Any other questions? Yes, Denise.
No question, but just a comment. Thank you for actually showing us what's happening. We had a presentation actually not too long ago in our TLT committee meeting, and Jill McDonald was there and told us what you do, but now watching it and seeing it come to life is really exciting. So thank you for all that you do. We know you're working hard.
Thank you. The kids are working far harder than any of us teachers are, so they get the kudos.
Any other comments? Well, knowing you, you are extraordinarily modest. You do a
Not at all,
tremendous
you're
job,
kind.
and the opportunities that you provide to our students are enormous. I'm fascinated by listening to your comments from the questions that were asked by our board. And I think one piece that really does bring some relevancy into what we're doing as it relates to building futures is building campuses so that we can be integrated both at the middle school and high school, so there are those transitions available, and it really drives that home. I think one of the things that we always talk about is our vision, our mission, inspiring and building futures one student at a time, and that's exactly what your program is all about. I also want to say thank you to each and every one of the board members, because I know this was going to be presented a few months ago, and we were very anxious to have our students come in, and I know they were anxious to present to us. Each of our board members received and responded, and they were very, very appreciative of that. I will also say that they've watched a number of our board meetings to one, understand what they potentially might be facing, and that we weren't as awful as we might look. And at the same time, it was a real pleasure to represent the board a few months ago and come into your classroom. What a bunch of bright eyes. The challenges they face every day is enormous. I just can't imagine coming into, just picture yourself going into another country and all you can do is speak English. And now everything that you're being taught is in another language. So the anxiety that they must feel each and every day, and we see more and more of that within Huron Valley. So on behalf of the board, I want to say, one, thank you for reaching out to us. Two, thank you for inviting us into your classroom. It was a pleasure for me to represent the rest of the board in that. And I said this a while ago, one of the things I learned was they love to play Uno. And Uno is a game that they learn conversational English with. And they challenged us, and we're still waiting to get that invite. I can put together a team of Uno players from this board. And we'd like to challenge you on that. So if you'll pass that on, that not only did we enjoy the presentation, we missed them, and that we're willing to play Uno anytime, and we'll even come to your place to play it.
Sounds good. As soon as we finish our WIDA testing, we will give you a call.
All right, very good.
Thank you very much for your time. We
All right,
appreciate you.
Yeah, we're in. Thank you very much.
On behalf of our students, game on.
Absolutely. All right.
Game on.
We'll be there anytime, any
Boy.
place. All right?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, next on the agenda, I believe it's me now. It's going back to me. Yeah, students, you are absolutely have permission to leave. You can stay and watch the entire board meeting if you'd like, but if you'd like to leave, we certainly understand. So thank you. Students, parents, administrators, teachers.
I think those parents were worried you were just going to make them stay. Students can go, parents stay.
Oh, we have to stay. It's amazing how the audience thins out as the presentations go by. But communication reports, items from board president. I only have a couple because I'm going to be turning it over to my right-hand person who sits on my left. But there are some important pieces that I do want to communicate with. Number one, while we only have one board meeting that's scheduled this month, our Board of Education is extraordinarily active in doing a variety of things within the district and providing a variety of services. Formally, I know just this past weekend, myself along with Denise were able to attend some Winter Institute classes, and we'll be sharing some information with you in the future as it relates to that. A couple key points. We have on the agenda a special board meeting next Monday at 4:30 at the administration building. It's really primarily a two agenda items as it relates to things that are going to be presented as new business today, that we need to have a special board meeting, which we're not accustomed to, but so that we can go ahead and move these recommendations on to make some determinations on what direction we need to go as a board as it relates to some bond issue projects. So that's the purpose of that. We also have a board study session scheduled for Monday, February 26th at 5 o'clock to 8 o'clock. That's going to be tentatively scheduled, if it works out, right here at the Milford High School LGI. So we're going to do that. In addition to that, I know we don't have another formal board meeting until March 4th, I believe, or March 4th. And the week after that, which is March 11th and 12th, one of the things that we take a lot of pride in as a board is to be open and available to our community members. So we're going to be having our second edition of this year of our community forum. That'll be on Monday, March 11th. It'll be at Heritage from 6 to 7:30. And on March 12th, which is a Tuesday, from 6 to 7:30. Members of this Board of Education will be available for you to discuss any issue as it relates to Huron Valley Schools in a face-to-face conversation. As I said earlier, comments that are made here tonight are not subject to conversations, but this is an opportunity that we feel very important to have on March 11th and 12th. So I just pass that on so that everybody has that on their calendar. Obviously, we're available anytime to have conversations, but this is an opportunity for you to come in and have that face-to-face conversation. Along with all of our students constantly learning and bringing things up to speed and informing us, this past week, one of our members, Vice President Dodd, was able to advocate and be part of quite a contingency from Oakland schools in Oakland County at Washington, D.C. for the National School Board Association's Advocacy Institute. Laura, we kind of kid back and forth at the role of the vice president, but Laura is one that really shines as it relates to legislative advocacy. Is very involved at both the local, state, and national level, working with our public officials to do what's best for students throughout our state and primarily within our school district itself. And this is, I think, the second year you've gone to this, and we have found it to be extraordinarily beneficial. I appreciate everything that Laura does on behalf of the board and our community and our students. Laura is also our representative at Oakland Schools in Oakland County for our Governmental Relations Committee. Very active in that. In fact, there's a meeting coming up tomorrow that she'll be representing our...
Wednesday.
See, that's one of the reasons why she sits here. Is it Wednesday or Tuesday? It's Wednesday. You make sure it's on your calendar properly. You don't want to show up at a meeting that you don't have to be at. But Wednesday, and so she represents us in that, and that takes up an extraordinary amount of time. And Laura is also our chairperson for our marketing, communications, and legislative committee that she reports on a daily basis. So with that, I'm going to turn the mic over to Laura, who's going to give the community and the board a report on what took place between January 28th and 30th at this Advocacy Institute. So Laura?
Thank you, Tom. I always think it's important to report out about the Advocacy Institute and why going to Washington, D.C. is important. Because school funding and where all of the rules come from and the money comes from can be a real big mystery. So I think talking about it a little bit and just giving some clarity as it relates to who all is making the decisions and what we can do as a board and as citizens to get involved in the process. Thank you. So the purpose of this Advocacy Institute, which brought together board members from all over the country, was to hear latest developments and in education policy and legislation, to champion the issues of public K through 12 students, and to advocate for education priorities and federal policies. So the first 2 days of the conference were really us sitting and learning and hearing from experts from around DC and around the country, specifically as it relates to legislation. So this first slide shows you some of the political figures who we heard from as a large group. So we heard from Senator Bill Cassidy from Louisiana, Congressman Bobby Scott from Virginia, Senator Chris Van Hollen from Maryland. We got a federal school law update. We heard about some title program funding and some information about the title programs and the ESSA. I have that on a later slide, and I tell you what ESSA is, but it's not on this slide. And we had a conversation about the 2024 elections and what the scene looks like as it relates to that. The 2024 elections was brought to us by John McIntyre from Real Clear Politics, and he had very interesting perspective on just what it looks like out there and what we can expect in the next year. Next, we talk is the champion interests of public K through 12. And the most interesting thing about this for me is this picture of this woman here on the left. So that is Dr. Temple Grandin. Many of you may know who she is. My daughter knew because she's a rebel girl in the books that we read about influential women. And she is an advocate and a person with autism, and she talks very passionately about how the education system and really employers as a whole should embrace autism as a superpower. And she asked to speak to us. Usually for these conferences, we have people calling all over to say, hey, would you come speak? But she met somebody from the National School Board Association and said, I need to come and speak to school board folks. So a fascinating conversation with her. She's just as interesting as you would imagine she would be. The other things that they brought up and they talked about, and this is the slide I could talk about for days. I won't, but if you're curious, give me a call. Improvements in reading outcomes in all students. So the presenter from this was in the education department for the state of Mississippi, which has been known as number 50 out of 50 in literacy, and had a wonderful increase in literacy in that state. And she had some really interesting things to share as it relates to that. We talked about easing divisions and solving problems through dignity. So that's this dignity index that I took a picture of and I've been sending to people via text. And it's taking the time to look at the people who are speaking with us and listening less to necessarily what they're saying, but how they're saying it and who they're talking to, and are they allowing everyone to have dignity. And it was an interesting way to talk about the political sphere and for them to talk about how they are doing that with students across the country and bringing it into high school classrooms to really think about how we can bring dignity back into the conversations. Fascinating. And then just for our superintendent, a fantastic presentation about artificial intelligence and its implications for education, and less about the frightening implications, but more about the jobs implications and the way we need to train our workforce to understand how to build a foundation of artificial intelligence literacy. So interesting things and good stuff to come from there. Our third day is Advocacy Day, and that's the day that we go to the Hill and we meet with our representatives. So this photo here is every person from Oakland County who attended the Advocacy Institute. And our focus, as given to us by the Michigan School Board Association based on surveys that they gave to every school board member, is we were to focus on 3 areas of interest. Number 1, fully funding the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, IDEA. Number 2, protecting and increasing title funding. And number 3, closing free and reduced lunch form loopholes and to fund meals in all 50 states. And I'm going to go into 2 of those a little bit more. I'll just talk about the meals quickly. In Michigan, we provide meals for all of our students, but they still have to fill out the free and reduced lunch form in order for a bunch of other funding and other things that are important to happen in our schools. But because that form is called the free and reduced lunch form, we've seen a decrease in families filling out the form. So we really wanted to talk to our federal folks to ask, what can we do about this? How can we make sure that we're not losing a lot of funding simply because this form really is obsolete in the state of Michigan as it relates to free and reduced lunch? Next slide. So what is the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, IDEA? So IDEA was passed in 1975. And in 1975, when they passed this law on the federal level, they promised to pay 40% of all expenses incurred to properly educate individuals with disabilities. To date, I'm not going to get there yet. Hold on, moving back over. This law requires that all schools provide free and appropriate education. They also must find and evaluate any students who may have disabilities. And if a child is found to have a disability, then we need to make sure that we're educating that student properly. So this is a lot that in 1975 they knew they were changing the way public education was done, and they knew it was going to take a lot for us to do this. So they said, we'll fund it in 40%. But we advocate because to date they funded at about 14%. So it leaves the schools to scrap together money to be able to make sure we provide all of these resources. We're legally required to provide all of this, but unfortunately we're not getting the funding to do it properly. So we advocate for this in order to do that. In good news, so we're at year 49. It has been 49 years since they passed IDEA. And all Oakland County congressional representatives and our senators have all signed on to co-sponsor bills that say we must fund IDEA. And that's a really big deal because Oakland County has both Republican and Democratic representatives in Congress. And I sat in the room, and when we got to the event on Tuesday, I didn't know this, but my Congresswoman, Lisa McLean's staff came in and said, we have good news for you. And she came on and said that she had decided to co-sponsor this bill. Had been taking a lot of heat from her Republican counterparts for sponsoring it, and she said, this isn't a Republican or Democratic issue. This is about kids and about educating our students and preparing the future. So that was a very heartening thing to hear. It's nice that all of our congressional representatives and senators have signed on for full funding. Next year's 50 years. We ought to have that full funding in 50 years. So, so that's IDEA. Title funding, actually our presentations tonight as it relates to title funding, they fall under Title III. We have multiple different title funds, and each one of them funds a very specific area that we focus on in education. So it's Every Student Succeed Act funding. That's what ESSA stands for. I told you I'd get back to it. Federal education funding meant to supplement state funding. Title I supports at-risk students, and it's probably the one we're most accustomed to in education. And then Title, that's not important. So in Huron Valley Schools, we have a little over $1 million in title funding. And right now, there's conversations happening related to budget in the House and the Senate. The House wants to claw back a lot of title funding, where the Senate is actually saying they need to fund it. So there is big disagreements right now between the House and the Senate. So it was important for us to be there to give the stories of why this is important and be able to talk about our English language learners here in Milford and Highland and White Lake and Commerce, and why it's so important for them to have every educator, not just the people in their English language classes, but all of those students or those teachers understand what to do. So that's why this funding is so important and why we needed to be there and advocate for that. So I had the opportunity to meet with 3 out of the 4 folks in the federal government who represent our area. Top is Alyssa Slotkin. She's a Congresswoman, Alyssa Slotkin. Down below is Congresswoman Lisa McLean, and I want to point out the little doggie on the chair next to her, Peanut. She brought Peanut to the meeting as well. And then, of course, our outgoing Senator, Debbie Stabenow, who has addressed this delegation of school board people every single year she served in the Senate. So we were very happy to hear from them, happy to advocate and learn exactly what language is needed to help these folks understand what's happening. They're responsible for knowing everything about everything, and they look to us to be content experts And so building those relationships with their staff and the people who are in their offices to do this at least allows them to have somebody to call when they're making these decisions. I'm proud that this is a nonpartisan role that we're all in, because it takes every single one of these partisan people to come together for kids to make a difference. So I really feel like the time in DC is valuable. The fact that we got Congresswoman McLean to co-sponsor that bill really made the trip feel worthwhile. So that's my report.
Thank you very much, Laura. Any comments or questions to Laura? I just want to say thank you for attending. Well done. I believe, based on one of our meetings that we attended, I believe we probably had the largest contingency at that conference.
We had over 100.
Yeah, it was absolutely incredible, the participation of school boards within Oakland County to get our message across. The only comment I can make right now, and it's really a comment to you, Laura, and the work well done, but it's really a financial issue. You pointed out that there's requirements as it relates to what we need to provide as a local school district for our at-need students. And there's no question those students need that assistance. But over 49 years, the federal government has not lived up to their promise as it relates to funding special education. Jeffrey, if we're required to provide those services and the money's not coming from the feds, where does that money come from?
It would come from the general fund, Tom, which is used to pay for all other facets of the district as well.
Okay, so whatever is not made up with these dollars and with the local county millage as it relates to special ed, we're required to provide those services. We meet those obligations, but it comes out of the per pupil foundation, basically, that we receive.
Correct, yeah, that's millions of dollars a year that we spend, the HVS impact of being unfunded in some of these mandates, if you will.
Because it really costs more money than the foundation provides to provide services to our special ed students.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Laura.
So Paul did my homework for me, thank you, which was how much does some of this stuff cost? And if you were to say we get $10,000 per pupil from the state, many of the students in some of these programs, it costs about $40,000 a year to educate those students. So that's 4 students worth of money to educate 1 student, which we have to do, we are legally required to do, but it means we have to do less in some other cases because we are required to do that. So it's education math, it's public school math, and it's a challenge, and it's why we just have to keep speaking up and we have to keep talking about it, because it's the right thing to do. Mm-hmm. But it's an expensive thing to do, and we need to make sure we're doing right by all of our students. You know, 1 student at a time. That's our mission, and we need to make sure that we're doing that and that we're helping bring those lawmakers along to do that with us.
It's not only a case, I think the point's well taken, not only do we have to do it, we want to do it because that's what those students deserve. Mm-hmm. And you pointed out, inspiring and building futures 1 student at a time. Each of our students are special in their own way, and we need to provide the services that each of those students need in some fashion. But the reality is, it does cost money, it costs dollars, because who's providing those services but our teachers and our professionals. So thank you once again, and I'm sure we'll hear more as the chairperson of our legislative group. I'm sure you'll be sharing more with them. So thank you again. Superintendent's communications.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to build upon Vice President Dodd's comments this evening. First of all, thank you, Laura, for attending the Advocacy Institute. I really have heard positive things throughout the county regarding the attendance and the Oakland County contingent in particular, and the influence and the education that occurred for policymakers. I think it's prudent to note, especially this evening as we're going to be talking about a bond proposal that I'll spend some time on, why we don't just use general fund monies for everything that we pay for. And you heard Vice President Dodd speak to this to a certain degree. But our general fund budget, for those of you who are unaware, is roughly $100 million. We serve roughly 8,000 students. We have approximately 1,200 employees. We are the 20th largest employer in Oakland County. We are a large, complex organization. And the thing about the public sector that is so different from the private sector that I think people oftentimes forget is we are not building things. So we can't come up with operational efficiencies, different suppliers to provide a product, more efficient ways to create tool and die resources so that we lower our investment in cost and increase our overall profit. It doesn't work that way in public schools. We provide an exemplary educational experience based upon the number of students that we have, and we receive a certain dollar amount to do that. So if our transportation costs are more than what we receive, then that comes out of the general fund, the monies that go to students and the education they receive in the classroom. If we have a higher special education population, that money comes from the general fund. Right now, to date, our shortfall in terms of costs and special ed alone are roughly $2 million. Our transportation short costs are over $1 million. This last year, we successfully lobbied for some additional monies, but still not covering our total cost. So when we talk about a bond program and we talk about the needs in a large, complex school district with 1.7 million square feet that we are responsible for, that $100 million doesn't come close to what is required of us to maintain our facilities, let alone maintain a competitive environment. So I'm going to go into more of that in just a few moments. Before I do, I have a couple of shout outs that I want to share. I'm very proud of this district. Huron Valley is truly a destination district for a lot of different reasons. And our employees receive accolades all the time. And so I want to highlight just a few of those. And this is just in the last couple of days before the board even received their board, or after the board received their board packet. So this evening, I'm pleased to share that the Michigan School Band and Orchestra Association has awarded Muir Middle School instrumental music educator Kristen Blanchard as the Michigan School Band and Orchestra Association Teacher of the Year for band, which is an extraordinary accomplishment. We knew that she was the successful person in our region, but this is for the entire state. So we are really proud of Kristen, and I'm sure she'll see this. Kristen, congratulations. You deserve it. You are an outstanding educator, and I feel very fortunate and blessed that you are an educator here in Huron Valley Schools. Congratulations to you. Yeah. And I think we're going to have her at a future board meeting as a highlight, so Ms. Rothler will connect with her on that. Also, we have employees that, volunteer their own time to continue to engage in professional learning. And so this evening, on behalf of the Michigan School business officials, I'd like to share that Colleen Armstrong has met the requirements for certification under the MSBO Voluntary Certification Program and has earned her Child Nutrition Director certification. This award reflects the high degree of academic and professional preparation established by MSBO through professional development. So congratulations to Colleen. That's also an excellent accomplishment, and we're very proud of you as well. We can give her a nice round of applause. And then finally, one of our educators at Kurtz Elementary School, Whitney Klepak, who teaches in our moderate cognitively impaired program, recently was observed by Oakland schools because she has a model classroom. And oftentimes when we have an exemplar, that draws attention, and that attention came to us from Oakland schools. They wanted to see how we do business in HVS. So I thought that was pretty cool, and congratulations to Whitney. It's quite an accomplishment. We're very proud of you and glad that you are an educator in the Huron Valley Schools. Congratulations. So with that, I am going to turn my attention to a presentation this evening. I want to just share for our listening audience, our board this evening is being asked to consider the final step in placing a ballot proposal on the May 7th agenda. And so I have some information to share with the board and our community out there. I am starting to share this information with various PTA groups as well as community groups. I just want to walk through some of the high-level items that we expect to accomplish. I'm not going to touch on every single project, but I will share some of the high-level focuses of this bond. I think it's critical to mention as a preface, I honestly don't know how we could have navigated the last 5 years had our community not supported the 2019 bond. And I'll just give you a few quick examples. The global pandemic that we saw as a once-in-a-100-year ordeal impacted Huron Valley Schools just like it did so many other districts. And because we had bond resources, we were able to quickly become a one-to-one school district, meaning we were able to purchase Chromebooks for every single child in the Huron Valley Schools. We had intended to do that, but over like a 10-year time span, not a 1-year time span. So we had to adjust quickly. We had obviously a pretty significant need. We had to build an online school platform in the span of 3 months. And we just frankly wouldn't have been able to do that without those resources. Another example is the tragedy that has broken all of our hearts over the last several years is watching the Oxford tragedy unfold. And without the resources, what we have done from a safety and security perspective was really escalated to such a great degree after we saw that event unfold. And I just don't know what we would have done in terms of all of the hardening of our school buildings, from adding safe and secure vestibules at every one of our elementary schools, eventually making our way to the high schools, investments in hardware throughout the district, investments in door replacements on all of our interior doors, really expediting significant projects and technology enhancements that were needed from cameras, and I'll go into some of that in a little bit more detail. But I'm just not quite sure where we would be today had we not have been successful in the passage of that bond. And then, because we hadn't passed the bond since the early 2000s, what we found when we started doing projects was some pretty significant neglect. When you don't have resources and general fund is allocated to paying the highly qualified and trained employees that are here to deliver a quality education for your kids, then you can't allocate those dollars to the physical infrastructure of your buildings. And we reap the downside of that, if you will. And when we started getting into the walls and into the ceiling tiles, we found some pretty significant and horrific challenges that we had to resolve. And we've been doing things the right way with the resources. We aren't cutting corners, even if that means that we don't do a project and we save it for a future bond proposal. It's been important to us that we do things the right way to ensure the integrity of our programming and safety for our students and our staff. So I'm going to walk through some slides here this evening, just to give our listening audience and the community a high-level overview of what this May 7th ballot proposal will focus on. I mean, first and foremost, we still have a significant amount to do as it relates to safety and security. As I mentioned, last significant bond that we passed was in the late 90s, early 2000s, and so we hadn't really touched major infrastructure projects in the district for over 20 years. A lot remains to be done. And then continuing to upgrade and modernize our educational settings to to meet the needs of our students. And the fantastic thing about this bond proposal, and we've said this since 2019, that we don't want to come out to the community for a bond initiative until we start to see debt fall off, which allows us to maintain the current debt rate in the district. And so we're able to generate $361.3 million at a zero tax rate increase. And the reason that that's important is because I think that our community recognizes that we want to be responsible stewards of the resources that are provided to us as a school district and as a school community, and we can do that without raising the tax rate, and I think that's a win for our community. So this is a comprehensive plan. It took several years it took over a year to develop the strategic plan that was presented to the board just recently, actually in December of 2023, involving over 130 people, 15 months. After really doing due diligence and utilizing the resources of outside experts to come in and provide data for us in order to make informed decisions about the future of our school district. And our board unanimously supported the recommendations of the Strategic Plan Committee back in December, and also the proposal to move forward with a ballot proposal in May of 2024. And so $361 million is a lot of money. And I don't want to in any way, shape, or form try to act as if it is not a lot of money. But I just want you to take a moment, and I want you to think about, the average house that's 1,500 or 2,000 square feet and what it costs to replace a roof, a boiler, a chiller, a driveway, the shingles, the siding, the doors, the windows. It's extraordinarily expensive for a home that's roughly 1,500 to 2,000 square feet. And as I mentioned, we have 1.7 million square feet of district facilities that we are responsible for. So multiply that out, and you have a good idea of the scope of what we're talking about. Back in 2018, we had a committee together, much like our strategic plan committee. They identified $400 million worth of needs. We passed a bond for $182 million. So we knew back in 19 that even with the passage of the bond in 2019, we still would not have sufficient resources to take care of all of the needs of the district. But we also knew that we would have debt falling off every 5 years that would allow us to go back out to the community in a responsible way without raising the debt mill, and that would allow us to continue to tackle these projects. We've always known that since the beginning, and that was always really part of the big picture plan. We just didn't know the magnitude and how much that we needed to go out for, and that's where this last committee really helped us. So this company, this third-party company, Plant Moran Rail Point, that we hired in this last iteration of the work, identified $436 million worth of work that still remains in the district because of escalation of costs due to COVID-19, supply chain shortages, staffing shortages, and those sorts of things. And some of this you've heard me say before. You've heard me say it at this board table, and our Board of Education has heard it, but not everybody in the community has heard it. So, for our Board of Education, part of the reason I'm sharing this with you right now publicly again is because this is the presentation that I will be sharing when I go out into the community and talking with our PTA groups and our various community constituents. So again, this is a zero tax rate increase. That's why now. Some of the features of this bond, you heard me mention safety and security. And again, that has been significantly heightened as a result of the Oxford tragedy. Just to give you some context, before the 2019 bond, we had between 100 and 150 operational cameras covering 1.7 million square feet on 4 or 5 different technology platforms with very fuzzy images. And we have moved from that to having now, today, as I sit here before you, over 850 cameras district-wide. A district our size could use over 1,000. And they need to be replaced on a fairly regular basis. Anytime something goes wrong, you want to have a supply of 20 or 30 in our warehouse that we can just replace and swap out on a regular basis in order to maintain our safety infrastructure. I can't tell you just in the time that we have implemented this technology what it has done for us in identifying problems, problem behaviors. You might be surprised to hear that sometimes students misbehave, and we find things on cameras that help us detract and eliminate some of those behaviors that can be problematic and really keep our facilities safe. You know, when we've had drag racing in our parking lots at 2 a.m, we're able to easily work with law enforcement to share information with them regarding some of those things. Vandalism, we can monitor vandalism on our properties. So the difference that the technology upgrades from a safety security perspective have been huge. Badge readers, we know when any person comes into our buildings, who they are, when they came in, when they left, because we have cameras and we have badges that allow us to know when they come in and out of our buildings. We need more, a lot more. We've done a lot to improve the safety and security of our buildings, but we're just catching up to where a lot of districts already are because they've been passing successful bonds for the last 25 years or so. So infrastructure upgrades, you know, while we've done a lot on parking lots and we've touched a lot of spaces, if you talk with any elementary family, frankly, if you talk with any family in the district who have seen major classroom improvements and upgrades, what we didn't do now stands out like a sore thumb. So the bathrooms, in many instances, haven't been touched in over 50, 60 years. Just think about a bathroom that hasn't been touched in 50, 60 years. They all need to be completely gutted and removed. We are, you know, it's similar to the work we've done just providing water to our students. Water is a basic necessity that everybody should have good access to. We have, many of our buildings are on well, and we manage the water, and we're on filtration systems, and we're treating them, but how much better is it when the township has an iron filtration plant and they're responsible for water and we're out of the water business and we don't have to use general fund money to worry about the filtration and adding, you know, filters to different locations and chlorinating and testing and all those expenses that come with maintaining water. Well, so with this 2019 bond, we're adding water to the Bogey Lake campus, which is almost over the finish line. And with this 2024 bond, we are looking to do something similar with this campus here. And Jeffrey and I, in fact, just had a meeting today with Highland Township regarding some of the possibilities and potentials to try to get water down to this campus. This bond could assist us in accomplishing that goal. You know, roofs, boilers, chillers, parking lots, you know, HVAC, electrical, all the things that are behind the walls that we have not touched to date, we will be able to tackle with this next bond proposal. Student programming, you know, this is what gets people really excited. You know, while infrastructure upgrades are important and we have to do them, I think what gets the most, you know, attention and focus is our ability to modernize our educational environments from an academics, arts, and an athletic perspective. We need to just continually refresh technology. You know, you might say, well, Dr. Sly, you just purchased one-to-one Chromebooks for every child in the district. The average life expectancy of a Chromebook, for our parents out there who have purchased them, is 3 to 5 years. We need to be in a cycle of every 3 to 5 years replacing Chromebooks in order to keep our students competitive. And why is that important? Well, you heard Vice President Dodd say in her presentation the impact of artificial intelligence and how we have to embrace it, not be fearful of it. I completely, wholeheartedly agree with that sentiment. And my thinking on this has evolved rather quickly because the fact of the matter is by 2025, I heard an alarming statistic the other day, and I shouldn't be alarmed because it's actually not a bad thing. We just have to adjust. 85 million jobs will be replaced with artificial intelligence by the year 2025. which I think is just staggering. However, 97 million jobs will be created as a result of artificial intelligence. These are jobs that we don't even know exist today. We're not even educating for those jobs. We need the resources to modernize our environment so that we can prepare that 97 million student workforce for jobs that don't even exist today on February 5th, 2024. That's how quickly we need to adapt and adjust as an education system to be prepared to meet the needs of our students. You know, I heard another interesting statistic. I thought this just floored me, just to give you an idea of the impact of artificial intelligence. It took 54 months for Facebook to earn 100 million followers. 54 months, 4.5 years. It took 2 months for ChatGPT to reach 100 million followers. Whether we like it or not, the world around us is shifting and adjusting, and as an educational system, we need to continue to modernize our educational environments to be prepared. Career technical education needs to be a focus. You'll see that on this slide. STEM education needs to be a focus for us. We're talking higher amounts of electrical output in our classrooms so we can meet the changing demands of technology and create jobs and courses that don't exist in our systems today. When we talk about innovative programs and collaborative spaces, that's how the workforce engages today. They don't sit in nice, neat rows with 30 kids or 30 people in a space. They have furniture that can easily be adjusted and moved so that you can have collaborative spaces and learning environments. You have teachers and instructors that are engaging students in technology and using smartboards in creative ways. That is the environment that we have to prepare our kids for so that when they leave the school environment, they're ready for the workforce. So as we think about arts and as we think about athletics, we need to continue with the work that we've done. I'm very proud of the updates that we've made, but I want to highlight a few things. When you go 20 years without a major infrastructure bond, you're taking care of the things that are basically, for lack of a better word, that are just on fire, that you have to get done immediately. Our stadiums at both of our high schools, the stadium fields that our football teams and our band program and our soccer programs and all of our different programs that use that space was end of life, like to the point where we were expecting to be told that they are no longer safe for use. That was what they were like when I started here in 2018. I was told that if we didn't have the resources, we would not be able to host games at Milford and Lakeland High School. That was the problem that we were facing. So we had to take care of that. And that benefited the arts, and it benefited athletics, and it benefited, frankly, our community programs as well that use those facilities on a regular basis. We hadn't had band equipment replaced in 20 years. We spent $1.7 million just on replacing band equipment, just to give you a sense of the amount of work that needed to be done. We purchased that in 2 series. But guess what? Band equipment doesn't last forever. Just like technology, we have to refresh, we have to replace. This next bond proposal will continue to refresh our instruments so that our students have those resources and can be competitive just like they are today. Another opportunity, we were able to actually take out an athletic field at Lakeland High School and convert that into a band practice space because our band didn't have an outdoor space that they could just practice en masse. We didn't get everything done. We have much more to do. There have been some upgrades in our CPAs as well, and I know we have a significant investment actually coming up here in the coming months to continue the work in our CPAs. But our CPAs, every chair needs to be replaced, the carpet needs to be removed. We're doing some things right now with the sound equipment in our centers for performing arts, but there's still much to be done. So I'm not going to spend a ton more time on everything else that's in here. I do want to touch on middle school upgrades. I'm very excited about the recommendation from the Strategic Plan 2.0 Committee. They recommended that we have 2 middle school campuses. Our middle schools, are in need of some TLC, and I'm really excited about some of the artist renderings that we have. We're really talking about, for all intents and purposes, 2 brand-new middle schools. At White Lake Middle School, we're talking about additions of up to 35,000 square feet and completely renovating the interior. It is going to look like a completely new building. And then we're also looking for parity on this side of the district by adding a middle school on this campus. We heard from Ms. Fogelman today some of the benefits of that shared campus model with middle school and high schools with their EL population. We see the same with athletics. We see the same with the arts. We will be able to do that once we have a middle school on this campus here at the Milford High School campus. And, I'm really pleased to say that not only will we be able to do that, it will provide superior academic programming for students, superior access to the arts and athletics, and it will be a cost savings over the course of 5 or 10 years, as opposed to the renovations that we would have done at Muir. So better in terms of programming, less expensive for our taxpayers. So these are just the sites where the middle school at the Milford High campus will appear, and then where White Lake Middle School appears as well. I've touched on this several times over the last several months, so I won't spend a lot of time on it, but the benefits of creating a middle school, high school campus, I just want to encourage you, because for the sake of time, I'm not going to read all of this to you, but this PowerPoint will be available on our website. We are creating a Bond 2024 web page similar to what we had with our strategic plan that will be coming to you very shortly. And this presentation will be available for anybody who's interested to learn more. We are making minor tweaks here and there to this presentation as well. Really excited about this transformation. Here's an example of what our White Lake Middle School transformation could look like. What you see there on the left is a artist rendering of the new secure entryway at White Lake Middle School. You see that the concept follows many of the other concepts of our elementaries and the new addition at Milford High School. And then on the right there, that's an artist rendering of what our new cafeteria space will look like at White Lake Middle School. Just think about natural light and what that does to your mood, what that does in an educational setting. That's what we're going to be able to provide for our students, which gets me extremely excited. And one of the questions I've had is, well, Dr. Salah, that's a lot of glass. Isn't that a safety challenge? And one thing I've learned from our architect is that this glass is fire rated, it's thick, it is safe. It would take an individual who has, ill intent on their mind a very long time to get through it. And, the average response time of law enforcement is 3 minutes. And remember, when we go into lockdown, everything's locked down. And so you can't just because you get past, one door, you don't have access to everything else. That's why we've put these safe and secure entries in place. Here's what the middle school will look like, or could look like, I should say. This is an artist rendering on the Milford High School campus. And then what some of our interior spaces could look like at both of our middle schools. And again, for all intents and purposes, I cannot accentuate this point enough that you will see parity between both of our middle schools, and these spaces will be well lit with LED lighting. They will be open, collaborative spaces to encourage collaborative learning environments. And I think that is critically important as we're preparing students for the world of this new technology, AI. Apple Vision environment that we are now living in. Some of the high school upgrades, you heard me speak to this already. There will be, considerable upgrades to the Center for Performing Arts at both of our high schools, seating, orchestra pit covers, lighting and sound. Musical instruments and equipment needs to be replaced. And then we are looking at our baseball, softball fields in athletics. Many of the districts around us have moved to synthetic turf. That is something that would benefit our students as well in our program, would make us competitive as a school district and attract interest to the schools. And so with that, there are some key dates here. March 28th, absentee voter ballots are available. April 22nd, last day for voters to vote by mail. May 4th and or May 5th, election clerk offices must be open for at least 8 hours. May 7th, polls open from 7 to 8. And we have some early voting locations here for your information. I would be remiss if I didn't say also, I just am thankful for our clerks. I had an opportunity to meet with them probably a week and a half ago on Friday, and there have been some recent changes in law. They are awesome rock stars, and they're doing a tremendous amount of work to prepare. We spent a lot of time discussing why May 7th is important for us from a school district perspective as it compares to, August and November. And I was just very appreciative for the back and forth discourse and for an opportunity to explain why May 7th is so important for us in order to begin this important work that we need to get accomplished. I know that was a lot, Mr. President, but I know, we're asking the board to make a pretty big decision this evening regarding the resolution that's in your board packet. And I wanted to make sure that the board was well informed and that our community is well informed, and that everyone begins to see the picture, the vision of where we are headed as a school district and what that means for us as a school district. So with that, I conclude my remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent Salah. Anybody have any comments or questions at this time to Dr. Salah? I know there was a lot of information. I know a number of, we've all seen parts of this. I appreciate that. We do have an item, a resolution to consider, but as we move forward, I know there's a lot of questions. I believe your staff is putting together and has been putting together and refining a Q&A as it relates to frequently asked questions. As we move forward with this, it'll be on the website along with, really, you'll be able to scroll right to our website and have all of this information that we're presenting.
Yeah, we'll also have a series of videos that Ms. Rothler is working on regarding various aspects of the bond proposal, and they're all informational pieces. Obviously our job as a district is to provide the information. That's what we're doing.
Thank you very much. Seeing no other comments or questions, Mrs. Pastana, do we have any student leadership tonight?
No student leadership tonight, Mr.
Okay.
Weisman.
Association communications. Jennifer?
If I was in the classroom, I'd say it's probably time for a stretch break. First of all, I want to give a quick shout out to all of our hardworking and dedicated HVS counselors, as this week is National School Counselor Week. I didn't want to leave them out, and I want to thank them for all their hard work. Oftentimes when people think about our educators, they only consider the teachers and ancillary staff who work directly with our students in the buildings. However, there's a whole team of administrators and teacher leaders working at central office who are an integral part of ensuring that our educators are prepared to teach our students. Tonight, I want to highlight the role of our 3 curriculum teacher leaders, as the role of these specific teacher leaders is often not fully understood. Connie Gilbert, Kristen Chastain, and Kathleen Miska work alongside Jen Tavernier, Martin Lindberg, Jennifer Bjorkman, and Leonard Nemeth in our Teaching, Learning, and Technology department. These teacher leader positions act as curricular coordinators to ensure that our curriculum, resources, and assessments are aligned and communicated across the district. These teacher leaders serve as facilitators to support the work that the teachers are doing in the classroom. A large part of their job is bringing together teachers from all over the district, from different buildings, where they guide conversations and create meaningful work with the purpose of gaining consensus on curriculum. They bring out teacher voices and bring those voices together in both large and small groups. Our educators and district staff are surprised how large the scope is of their job. Their work is systemic across all of our JK 12th grade educators as they oversee the curriculum of our entire district. They shared with me that they have a bird's eye view across all the buildings and levels, and that helps them see the systemic challenges that exist and advocate to provide supports for our teachers. At cohort and department levels, they communicate district decisions, present curricular changes, and lead discussion to ensure that there is clarity around those changes. However, much of their day-to-day work involves meeting in small groups of educators to look at curriculum. This process is sometimes done quickly, while other times it can take years to complete. It is extremely rewarding to our teacher leaders that once this process is finished, they know they have worked through concerns and finally the curriculum is ready for implementation. Knowing that they're able to bring groups of teachers together and make a decision on curricula and resources that's right for our teachers and our students is extremely meaningful to them. These teacher leaders provide space for our educators to do the curriculum work, and then the teachers go back to their individual classrooms to implement this curriculum. Mr. Lindberg reflected that these teacher leaders impact both our HVS system as a whole and our individual teachers. He said, and I quote, it's a long one, "They provide crucial oversights of curriculum and are able to support teachers individually. Educators are always contacting them for questions and support and get clear feedback in a timely manner. Every issue brought to our teacher leaders is taken seriously and discussed to determine the best approach. They provide needed consistency for our educators, especially with the many challenges that are happening each year. Over the past 3 to 4 years, they have been tasked with leading monumental changes in learning while dealing with significant teacher turnover." In addition to the curricular work, because that wasn't enough, they also support our district-wide initiatives, such as collaborative inquiry, summer school, elementary report cards, and strategic plan. Those are also part of their role. All of you have had the privilege of hearing many presentations from Connie, Kathleen, and Kristen over the past few years. Their depth of knowledge, ability to clearly articulate the information, and their ease of answering tough questions is what sets them apart and demonstrates how fortunate we are in Huron Valley to not only have these important positions within the HVEA teacher leaders, but to also have these specific individuals in this role. The work they do is challenging as they coordinate schedules of teachers in different buildings, balance multiple curricular projects, and are involved in district-wide initiative. Mr. Lindberg sums it all up by saying, "With a district the size of HVS, it is invaluable that these teacher leaders are providing guidance to make sure we are meeting the needs of all of our students in a consistent method. Honestly," he continues, "our district is so lucky to have these 3 rock stars." Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Board correspondence. I, as board president, have only received since the last board meeting one official email that I believe each of you received also, and I responded to that individual. It was regarding the bond issue in the May election. Secretary Pastana, do you have any other correspondence?
No other correspondence tonight.
Thank you. Mrs. Grzelkowski, do you have a treasurer's report?
Not this evening.
All right, next, reports from committee, executive committee. We have not met since the last board meeting. Our next board executive meeting will be on Friday, February 16th at 1 o'clock at the administrative offices. TLT committee, Mrs. Pastana.
Yeah, TLT has not met. We are meeting tomorrow at 4:30
All right, thank you. In the location of that meeting?
at the administrative building.
All right, thank you. Finance and operations, treasurer?
We meet a lot. We have met since the last meeting.
We meet all the time.
All the time. So Finance and Operations met on Wednesday, January 31st at 9:04 at the Administration Building. Mr. Wiseman was present. Ms. Cotter was present. Sorry, Ms. Cotter. I was also present, but apparently not in my right mind. Dr. Salah was there, Mr. Van Gotham, Mr. Reeby, Ms. Kerrigan, Ms. Merskin, Mr. Maxwell from Clark, and Mr. Weinrock from TMP. There was no public comment, but we did have someone from the public there. Thank you. We did not have any consent agenda items. We do have some unfinished business this evening, including the approval of the M&O truck purchase, which I will allow Mr. Van Gotham to talk through some of these unfinished things. Board Policy 0111 and 6320 updates, bond election resolution, and the county clerk ballot language. We will also be bringing this evening new business, which is the Bid Pack 10 Transportation Bus Wash Project, Lakewood and Spring Mills Project, Food Service Freezer, and the Heritage Roof. The committee reviewed the Bid Pack 10 letter of recommendation from Clark Construction along with the bid tabs for each bid category. We are asking the board to review the attached recommendation letter from Clark Construction for the work associated with Bid Pack 10. Administration will request approval at the February 12th special board meeting, and this will be funded from the 2023 Capital Projects Fund. Oxbow RRFB signal, and that was, Mr. Weinrock, is that the rectangular road flashing something? That, I don't know, it's a light. Miss Dodd always makes us do the acronyms. The committee reviewed the recommendation letter from TMP Architecture in the amount of $114,350 plus a 12% contingency of $13,722 for a total price of $128,072. Administration will request approval at the February 12th special board meeting, and this will be funded from the 2019 Building and Site Sinking Fund. Oh, it's a rectangular rapid flashing beacon. Just so you all know. Everybody knows that, I know. Safety and security updates. Recon Management spent time last week with our COAT team and our AIM teams, and discussion included the walkthrough of the past findings, discussions associated with human behaviors, threat assessment protocols, recognizing warning signs, and being proactive versus reactive. Time was also spent in Droplet, learning the role it plays in documenting threat assessment protocols. In addition, Bid Pack 10 was discussed as another example of our due diligence and safety security within the classrooms at both Lakewood and Spring Mills Elementary School. We had a construction update from Mr. Maxwell at Clark's Construction, and we also reviewed the contingencies and where we stand with timelines. We reviewed the general fund budget to actual report as of 12/31/23. The first and second quarter amendments will be brought to the March 4th Finance and Operations Committee and then on to the board after that. We also reviewed the 2024 bond initiative. The committee held a roundtable discussion to answer any additional questions. Dr. Salah spent time with the township clerks and shared his productive conversation, clarifying any misunderstandings with the why may question, along with a walkthrough of cost savings to our general fund, transportation cost savings annually, and the acknowledgement of the heavy lift this election will have on the clerks in general. Dr. Salah, along with the COAT team, is working with TMP on informational materials and preparing both AIM and the quad bond chairs, going over said materials. The PowerPoint presentation and FAQs that will be used February 22nd at our next scheduled advocacy meeting, which will be hosted at Baker's in Milford. One example of great community support and input. This invitation will be designated to individuals representing the buildings and community and will be sent out. Dr. Salad, Mr. Wiseman, and Ms. Cotter attended the Oxbow PTA meeting last Monday and provided the same presentation that we received in our meeting, answering questions. The PTA meetings will be attended on a going forward basis to provide information regarding the bond. Future discussion items. Behind the scenes, we're working on social media posts and videos following Gail Alvado's lead from the 2024 bond. Our building principals will speak with parents and share information via newsletters. The do's and don'ts for the campaign will also be communicated. Our meeting adjourned at 10:21 a.m. Our next meeting is February 28th at 8 a.m. at the admin building. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Communications, marketing, and legislation.
We have not met since our last meeting. Our next meeting is tomorrow at 2:30-ish. I'm putting that on there, at the administration building.
Thank you very much. Next is public comments. I do have one citizens participation form. Melissa, if you'd like to come up to the podium. If you would once again state your name, address, and the school district you reside in. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, everyone. My name is Melissa Hines. I am new to the district. I actually moved here in 2022, the start of the school year, from Ohio, from Cincinnati. And we looked at various districts in the area, and we settled on here in the White Lake area. My children, I have a freshman who's a 9th grader at the high school building and a 5th grader who's at Lakewood. We were very impressed with the facilities and the athletics and everything that have been there. We've been to many games this year with my freshmen. Starting at the high school, I've been volunteering quite a bit with the choir program, and I've joined the choir boosters. I've spent quite a lot of time in the choir room this year. Somehow I got wrangled into sewing choir uniforms and volunteered for that by my daughter. So I've become quite familiar with the room and the facilities there and the students and how passionate they are. And I have to say that the room that they practice in and some of the facilities over there are quite disappointing compared to everything else in the school and the district and at this building in comparison. And I would just like to, I've been asked to come here to represent our larger group of choir boosters to just give a friendly reminder that the choir room has not been updated since the 70s, and that room is actually not a good room for them to practice in. There's no acoustics in there. If you're standing 5 feet from in one spot versus 10 feet over, the sound is completely different in that room. It's a little chaotic. They do deserve quite a lot more than what they currently have, and I hope that that's something that we can make sure that's worked into the budget next year. I mean, as of right now, we're working with a makeshift closet that's literally falling apart that's holding our choir uniforms. And there's quite a lot of lists that I could go over, but we would like to work more with the board, and we'll be sending out some emails to invite you to one of our next meetings and actually have further discussions and bring some more evidence and proposals to you guys about some of the things that we would like to prioritize that are needed over there. But thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Melissa. And Dr. Salam?
Yeah, if you don't mind, I would thank you for being here. I am actually planning to attend a booster meeting for band as well as choir. And I'm happy to speak to what has been done, what is going to be done as part of the upcoming bond. I'm so glad you were here because you got to hear sort of the history and the big picture, but thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, the consent agenda. We have exhibits A1 through A3. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll move to approve the consent agenda A1 through A3 as presented.
You have a motion. Do I have a second? Second by, all right, motion made by Member Dodd, seconded by Member Ryan. Any comments, questions? Seeing none, may I have a roll call, please?
Ms. Dodd?
Yes.
Ms. Ryan?
Yes.
Ms. Cotter?
Yes.
I am a yes. Mr. Dimick?
Yes.
Ms. Grizemkowski?
Yes.
And Mr. Wiseman?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Next, under unfinished business, we have a number of items. First one is special board policy updates, Exhibit B. Before I take a motion, Dr. Salah?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. This item was presented at our last public board meeting, and we have not had any follow-up questions since that meeting. So we are asking for the board to approve changes to the policies as presented.
May I have a motion to accept the special board policy update, Exhibit B?
I'll make a motion to accept special board policy update, Exhibit B, as presented.
Motion made by Member Dimick. Do I have a second? Second by Member Pestana. Any questions? I know this was presented a couple weeks ago. No questions received, correct, Dr. Salah?
That's
All right.
correct, yes.
Seeing none, could we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Dimick?
Yes.
I am a yes. Ms. Grizemkowski?
Yes.
Ms. Cotter?
Yes.
Ms. Dodd?
Yes.
Ms. Ryan?
Yes.
And Mr. Wiseman?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Next is Exhibit C, Board Policy 5460, Graduation Requirements. Dr. Salah?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I'm unaware of any questions regarding Board Policy 5460. I would ask Mr. Taverner if he has anything to add to this.
Nothing to add. I have not received any questions. I do, just if I may, thank Ms. Hollander for recognizing our teacher leaders, and Connie Gilbert is here this evening. This is regarding our personal finance, and I know Connie was working with our team to bring that forward. So we are recommending that the Board of Education approve the revisions to Board Policy 5460, which is graduation requirements for the personal finance requirement. So this will impact our students, our current 8th grade students that will be going into 9th grade next year.
Right. Any questions, comments? The only question or comment that I have is I really appreciate, I was able to attend the TLT meeting that this was presented to, and the amount of work and collaboration in really investigating this whole change as it relates to graduation requirements. Took a lot of time. I think, Jennifer, you really, came home with what our instructional coaches, our leaders bring to the table and how they collaborate with our teaching staff to make these changes. So I respect that and appreciate that. Do I have a motion?
I'd like to make the motion to accept the Board Policy 5460 graduation requirement.
All right. Do I have a second?
I'll support that.
All right. Motion made by Member Pestana, seconded by Member Cotter. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, could I have a roll call?
I am a yes. Ms. Cotter?
Yes.
Ms. Dodd?
Yes.
Ms. Ryan?
Yes.
Mr. Dimick?
Yes.
Ms. Grizemkowski?
Yes.
And Mr. Wiseman?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Next is approval of the M&O dump truck purchase, Exhibit D. Dr. Slav?
Thank you, Mr. President. I have not heard of any additional comments or questions. Mr. Van Gotham, do you have anything this evening?
No, it's just important to note that once we do get this approved, we will be working with members of our student body to be naming this truck appropriately. I will pass that on to Ms. Rothler once the board takes action tonight, but we will have a proper name hopefully before the snow breaks.
I thought the snow already did break. Oh.
No, don't say that.
He's a meteorologist now, too. Wow. Any questions regarding the purchase of the dump truck? Could I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of the M&O dump truck.
All right, do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, I'll take Member Ryan's. A motion made by Member Grizemkowski, seconded by Member Ryan. Any other comments or questions? Will the name of the dump truck be placed on the dump truck, so when we see it driving down Bogey Lake Road, we can call it by its name?
We might need to have a special board meeting for that, Mr. Wiseman, so we'll worry about getting the truck first, and then we'll worry about.
Well, you need to, is that something that the board has, we have to vote on?
I guess we'll wait to see.
You'll have to get 4 votes, I guess. Any other comments? Laura?
I'm trying to behave.
Okay.
Thank you for adding a little creativity and fun to this. I think that's always great when we can bring the kids in, and I think appropriate name is the most important part of that.
Thank you for your comments. Yes, Jacob?
I was just going to say how I appreciate the fiscal responsibility we exhibit by staggering these large purchases. And it's not something that we want to do every year, obviously, but it's something that we have to do. As was said at the last meeting, this has reached its end of life, and it's we need it very much, so.
Right, thank you. And I think it's also important to note that there are rules that we have to follow with bond issues. And we have to follow the guidelines that are established by the state legislature. And a dump truck is not something that qualifies under the bond issue. It has to be taken out of the general fund. And if we could take it out of the bond issue, we certainly would, but we cannot based on law. So Lauren, I got a recommendation? Or did I get a motion?
Yeah, you did.
Okay.
Amy and then.
All right, thank you. All right, could we have a vote then, please?
Ms. Grisomkowski?
Yes.
Ms. Ryan?
Yes.
Ms. Cotter?
Yes.
I am a yes. Mr. Dimick?
Yes.
Ms. Dodd?
Yes.
Mr. Wiseman?
Yes, absolutely.
Motion passes.
All right, next, Board Policy 0111 and 6320. Dr. Salam?
Yep, thank you, Mr. President. Again, no additional questions on these two board policies, and I would invite Mr. Van Gotham to share anything he has heard or any additional information.
There's no additional information on this one. And no additional questions since our previous board meeting.
Could I have a motion to accept?
I'll make a motion to accept Board Policy 0111 and 6320 updates as presented.
Do I have a second?
I'll support. Or Ms. Scott.
Who seconded it?
Amy.
Amy did. All right. Motion made by Member Dodd, seconded by Member Grisomkowski. Any other comments or questions? See none. Roll call.
Ms. Dodd?
Yes.
Ms. Grisomkowski?
Yes.
Ms. Ryan?
Yes.
Ms. Cotter?
Yes.
I am a yes. Mr. Dimick?
Yes.
And Mr. Wiseman?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Next, E, Bond Election Resolution and County Clerk Ballot Language, Exhibit F. Dr. Salam.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. This is the final step toward placing a ballot proposal before the voters in May of 2027. What you have in your board packet is a resolution along with the ballot language that will appear for voters to consider. I would ask, we're asking for your approval of these items this evening, but I would ask Mr. Van Gotham, if you wouldn't mind just speaking to what happens next should the board approve the resolution this evening so that they know and understand what we do from this point forward, and our listening audience also has that information.
So as Dr. Sla alluded to, this is the last step that the board needs to take for us to be able to put this on our May 7th ballot. Once the board does approve this, we will be going to the Oakland County Clerk to, along with Secretary Pastana's signature, to provide that to the clerk by the 13th of February. So by taking action this evening, it gives us time over the next 8 days to be able to take this to not only the Oakland County Clerk, but we also thought it'd be prudent to take it to all of our townships as well and give them a certified copy of this so that our township clerks have it in their hands as well over the next week to make sure that everybody is clearly aware that we're meeting the guidelines required to put this on the actual ballot. And again, as you see I believe it's Exhibit A, that's the actual question that will be on the ballot. So this is something that we had provided several weeks ago, really once the board decided that, we wanted to move forward with our strategic plan 2.0 and ultimately approving a millage at no tax rate. This is really the final step of something that was started on December 18th. So really just moving along and sequencing. The state of Michigan and the Department of Treasury in particular signed off on our PQ application, which was something that came to the board over the last month as well. And we received our approval from Treasury, I believe it was dated Friday. So Dr. Salah got that certification from our attorney, and so therefore that allows us to even have this available for you tonight. Once the board takes action on that, then We will work behind the scenes to make sure that all the clerks have the necessary information so that they can start preparing the actual ballots, which are oddly enough available for our absentee community in about 7 weeks. So really just moving right along in our process here. But this is exciting because this is, as Dr. Salah alluded to, really 18 to 24 months of work from Strategic Plan 1.0, where the board took action on a strategic plan all the way through this past fall with Strategic Plan 2.0 that led up to the recommendations from the committee in December and ultimately the approval of the board to go out for a no tax rate increase. Thank you.
Thank you. Before I entertain any questions or comments, do I have a motion to accept this resolution?
I will make a motion to accept bond election resolution and county clerk ballot language Exhibit F as presented.
Thank you. Do I have a second? All right.
I'll
Motion-
support it.
Motion made by Member Dimick, seconded by Member Cotter. I'll open it up to questions or comments. Yes, Mr. Dimick?
Dr. Salah kind of touched on this, and it hits in with our middle school language learners. One of the things that really hits home for me is our education and our ability to evolve as the environment changes. And as much as I like being frugal and not spending, the opportunities that AI presents, just as a little like caveat, to me, it allows us the ability to rapidly evolve our environment as educators or as in that arena to provide a bespoke education almost for specific learners who have unique individual needs. Because as you heard, we had how many different languages represented, and that's very difficult for our teachers. So being able to harness the new technologies that are becoming available is one of the many benefits of us doing this. So it's not without much deliberation that we move forward behind the scenes, but I'm happy to support it, knowing that we are moving forward with providing a world-class education.
Thank you. Other comments? Yes, Amy.
You know, there's a lot of emotion wrapped up in Strategic Plan 2.0 and what the bond means. And I know that there are folks that have real concerns. And they're concerned about a special election. I am happy that this is a zero increase bond. But even more so, I am thrilled that we are able to do something that really no other district is doing. And that's taking middle school, which is really a really important pivotal transition time, and creating something fresh and new. Not many places are doing that. And I think sometimes our middle schoolers, you know, we do a lot at the elementary school, we do a lot at the high school, but our middle schoolers are just they're kind of the gap kids, right? And we are saying to them this time, which is, as Mr. so eloquently put it, tough. We're making places for them to be incredible learners, to have a landing space, but also to have a space that is conducive to incredible intellectual and really community gains. To be able to collaborate with the younger students and the older students on one campus. I don't even know that today we can really understand what that is going to do from a community perspective. But for me personally, as somebody who believes that collaboration is really the key to everything, having those opportunities for relationships, for having those opportunities for our English learners to go to the high school to relieve some of their, legitimate concerns about going to a new school, and to see that it's pretty great there at Lakeland, or it's pretty great there at Milford. That's really telling, and that's just one example, right? I mean, think about, as a athletic parent, I think about the opportunities with cross country. I think about the opportunities with track, lacrosse, soccer, football, you name it, they're there. I think about the opportunities to our choir, public speaker. I'm a choir kid. To be able to go into a CPA and perform as a middle schooler, that can be life-changing. To be able to have a stage that is, and to be working on sound or working on a backdrop, I mean, it's quite incredible. And for Huron Valley to say, we're going to put those middle schoolers in a place that is beautiful. I mean, those pictures are beautiful. We care enough about you to put you in a space that's attractive, right? Because we all like to be in attractive spaces. No one likes to be in a place that's kind of ugly. To say that we value you enough to do that is real, and it's important. And I'm very excited about what we can do. There's a lot to this bond. I know there's a lot of safety and security. I've looked through every single item, and the roof that we need, the HVACs that we need, I mean, carpeting, you name it, bathrooms. We need that stuff, right? It's not glamorous stuff. It's important stuff, but it's not glamorous. But all of that is what this bond is all about. It's about making us ready for what's to come. And let's be honest, none of us know what's to come. But we're going to make our kids ready with all the skill sets that they need to be effective adults, wonderful citizens, and maybe more than anything else, to be part of a real community. So I'm excited about the bond. I hope that you will get excited too.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for your comments, Amy. Any other comments? Just a couple things. Amy, absolutely. We talk a lot about Huron Valley and what makes Huron Valley special. What's our brand, all right? Part of our branding is really creating this opportunity where we have shared campuses, where we have the flexibility to do what our students need and really embrace with action why we refer to ourselves as a AAA school district. This really will provide us those opportunities for our middle schoolers. And when you talk about collaboration, we talk about soft skills, but those are the skills that our community wants from a corporate standpoint, from a business standpoint. Certain things can be learned, but that whole collaboration and working together and things such as that are extraordinarily important. And it also provides us with really what we are about, and that's providing the greatest amount of opportunities for our kids. And to have campuses that embrace that, to have a middle school campus on both sites, and with a high school paired up with it, is extraordinary. And you also bring up the fact that it provides opportunities to provide all the things that we need to make certain that we have a welcoming, healthy, safe environment for all of our students. This is more than just the middle schools, because all the other things that you're talking about, we have to do. And if we don't have the bond issue to do it, we still have to do it. We kind of talk about, like with IDEA money, special ed, it's a requirement. We have to have our buildings heated. We have to have our buildings cooled. And if we don't have a bond issue, it comes out of the general fund. Then that has a direct effect on opportunities for children, because we're a people business. This bond issue not only allows us to do those types of things and create that brand and create that support for our teachers, our community, it really shows people that are looking into this community what we value. It really reflects. We talk about curb appeal. I'm talking about community appeal, and that's what we are right here with that. I think it's important to note just a couple other pieces. Jeffrey mentioned that the state signed off on this. They did more than signing off on it. They blessed it. They recognized it. They went through it with a fine-tooth comb to make certain that the needs that we had within this bond application were warranted, and they're backing this bond. I think it's important to note that we're able to do this because we're financially sound in our decision-making, that we can do all of this with a zero tax rate increase, which is extraordinarily important for our community, extraordinarily important to me as a taxpayer, that my debt millage will not go up. It will stay the same and actually increase the value of my residency Because what do people look at potentially when they're buying your house? What type of schools you have, what kind of community you have, those types of things are extraordinarily important. Why I embrace and I recognize all the work that Strategic Plan 2.0 did and our strategic plan and our task force, this all goes back to 2019 when we had our Building Futures group together. And they envisioned what this district was. And they recognized that we had, at that time, almost $400 million worth of needs, but we wanted to be fiduciarily responsible and do it in such a way that we wouldn't increase our tax rate, and we were able to achieve that with our community support. I think it's important to note that what we're really doing is embracing continuous improvement of our district, and that's what this is all about. It's the next step in our master plan that was embraced within our strategic plan to continue providing opportunities for kids. Whatever those opportunities are, because as you mentioned, Amy, we don't know what they are, so we better create flexible spaces, spaces that meet the needs of our students now and into the future. And I'm really excited about this myself because it really embraces all the things that I see important to our community. So thank you very much for your comments. So with that, we have a motion and we have a second.
Yep.
If there are no other comments, may I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Dimick?
Yes.
Ms. Cotter?
Yes.
I am a yes. Ms. Grisomkowski?
Yes.
Ms. Dodd?
Yes.
Ms. Ryan?
Yes.
And Mr. Wiseman?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Next on the agenda is unfinished business. The first one is MASB, which is Michigan Association of School Board Board of Directors election. This is something that I'll take because I'm the one that brought it up. The MASB Board of Directors is comprised of 24 members, including 3 at-large directors, 16 directors. We are part of Region 8, and Region 8 is made up of Macomb ISD, Oakland Schools, and Wayne RESA. And with that, Huron Valley has been asked to select one candidate for a 3-year term on the MASB Board of Directors. I have attached the information regarding the 3 candidates who are running in our Region 8, which is, as I said before, comprised of Macomb, Wayne, and Oakland schools. The district choice must be submitted by March 6th. You also received a email, I believe all of you did, from the incumbent, who is a board member from Lake Orion, Burgett McQuist. Burgett, tricky name.
It is.
McQuiston. She's the incumbent. She's very active, but she did send a letter to all of us. What I would ask permission from the board is for us to take this and bring it to exec to review it again and then provide a recommendation. In the meantime, as you read this materials, if you have any insight or any ideas or would like to provide some input to the executive committee, please do so. Denise, Laura, and I are members of that group to represent you. Read over this material. There will be a opportunity to have a candidate forum for these 3 candidates. All 3 candidates have been invited to meet at Oakland Schools at 7 o'clock on February 7th. Laura will be at a governmental relations committee meeting at 6:30, so she's going to attend for us, but all of you are invited to attend if you'd like to at Oakland Schools. This will, a recommendation from exec will be brought forth at the next board meeting. At that time, we'll vote on that recommendation, and whoever that candidate might be, will submit it and give it to Heather, who will then meet the timeline that I believe it has to be submitted by 1 o'clock on that following Wednesday. So that's the plan, and if you don't have any objections, that's the process that we'll follow. Yes, Denise?
I think also they're going to record it and then send it out. So
Oh,
if you can't
great.
make it on the 7th, it'll be recorded and we can.
It would
get
be
a
sent
copy.
out to board members?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. Next on the agenda is new business is Transportation Bus Wash Project, Lakewood and Spring Mills Food Service Freezer and Heritage Roof. That's bid pack 10. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Slob, who's probably going to turn it over to somebody else.
I am going to turn it over to someone else, but I do have a quick comment here.
Okay.
So this will be considered for approval on our February 12th meeting. So this is a first read. I am going to ask Mr. Van Gotham to speak to the nuances and specifics, but I would reference that we also have Clark as well as TMP in the audience available for any questions. And you received this a day after your board packet went out on Friday because Clark was finishing some aspects of the recommendations. I did receive a question, and this question came to me. That's why I'm going to speak to this from Trustee Ryan. Trustee Ryan asked specifically about the timeline for pre-qualification process, as well as the financials of the company Temco. That's one of the bid categories that was being considered. And I did receive a response when I asked the question from Clark, and I wanted to share that for the benefit of the entire board so that you all have the same information this evening. Thank you for looking at that so quickly, Trustee Ryan. We appreciate you doing that. I think you did it in like the matter of an hour. Temco did submit all their pre-qualification information. They have no willful safety violations, no defaults on loans, no employee fatalities, no defaults on contracts, and have never failed to complete any awarded work. Their EMR rating, which stands for Experience Modification Rate, is 0.98, and what construction companies look for is less than a 1. So they're below the 1. They're below the 1. And they have plenty of capacity to do the work. In terms of their financials, they have completed a review of their financial risk rating, and they are low risk, which means they are in good financial standing. Clark does not have any concerns regarding the recommendation of Temco as it sits this evening, but we do have Clark here in the audience. They would be happy to answer any specific questions that the board might have this evening, as well as between now and February 12th, when we ask for board approval. And so that was a very specific question. I wanted to address that. Jeffrey, can you walk through just the overall approval and what we're asking for?
Yeah, so real quick, bid pack 10, the scope of work is the transportation bus wash. So if you've been around and seen our buses recently, you can see that that's in some dire need of TLC. So that bus wash will be completely replaced. We have some Lakewood and Spring Mills specific to classroom design that needs to be some tweaks to that. We have a walk-in freezer over by our warehouse that houses some of our food service items that we're able to get that we keep in storage. And then we have a portion of the Heritage Elementary roof that needs to be taken care of. This work would begin in March once the weather broke and continue through August so that we could get these specific projects accomplished. And we went through our normal bid process. We actually had the bid out for like 4.5, 5 weeks because it was over the holiday season. And we took bids in our normal course of business. And again, we're not asking for approval this evening, but we have another week should there be additional questions or concerns. But I feel comfortable as one of the leads on this to bring this before the board for approval next week at our special meeting.
Open up to any questions to Jeffrey or our other professionals that are in attendance. I see, yes, Amy.
I would just note that in our finance and operations meeting, when we talked about the speed of this bid pack, normally we have some time. Unfortunately, we are in a month that only has one board meeting, which would mean that if we didn't have our special board meeting, we wouldn't be able to vote on this until March. So if you think about construction, everything takes time, and we really want some of these projects to be completed this summer. And in order for us to do that, we needed to have this special board meeting. So it is the bid pack is. We did spend a great deal of time vetting the different vendors and many questions that regarding the different vendors that bid and why we took some and didn't take others. And I feel like, Jeffrey, I feel very confident with where we are. But I would say if you have any questions, please get those to Jeffrey as soon as possible. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? I think it's important to note, the bidding process wasn't shortened. The approval process has been shortened basically because of our calendar and the immediacy and the urgency as it relates to approving some of these items, because some of it wraps around safety and security. So the process wasn't shortened. The period of time that various vendors could bid on it in the review process wasn't shortened. It was the approval process. Usually it would come to the next board meeting, and we usually would have at least 2 weeks to ask those questions. We're only using 1 week, but I agree with Amy. We spent a lot of time going over and asking specific questions as it relates to why we're approving and why we're recommending certain companies over others, because it's not always low bid. And we spend a lot of time, and I think the proof is that our professionals did spend the time of vetting the various companies and making certain that we're not only getting what we're asking for, but we're getting it at the highest level of quality, because I agree with Dr. Salah. What we have done, and one of our trademarks of this bond issue, is to make certain that we're doing things right. That to be honest with you, we face some of those situations as we've uncovered them with past bond issues. We are really focused on, if it's going to cost us a little bit more money, we're going to do it right the first time, because our past bond issue that we passed in 2019 really helps us sell the current bond issue. So we have 1 week. Please take a look at it, ask any questions of Dr. Slaw and Jeffrey, and we can move forward with that. Next item is the Oxbow Rapid Rectangular Flashing Beacon signal for Oxbow. So.
The name says it all, really.
So
The
with
beacon-
that,
the
I'm
beacon
going to
agenda
hand it
item.
off to Dr. Slaw.
The beacon agenda item, I would ask Mr. Bangle to speak to this one as well.
It's really kind of hard to follow up all the comments previously mentioned, but we do have a traffic signal that needs we actually want to create one over by the Oxbow Elementary area. If anybody in our community has driven around that during our school, not only drop-off but pick-off times, it's a safety concern for us, and as the board and Dr. Salah have alluded to throughout the evening, safety and security remains a top priority for not only the Board of Education but the administration as well, and so this will allow us to better serve the students and community in the Oxbow area with a rectangular rapid flashing beacon, as we've so eloquently mentioned throughout the evening. So this is going to be for our special board meeting next Monday. But while we also consider Bid Pack 10, we'd like the board to consider the move forward with this signal, which will then be taking place again over the next several months, so that with the start of school, we should have this RRFB signal in place and feel even better about our safety and security over in the Oxbow community area.
Once again, just like Bid Pack 10, if you have any questions, please forward them on to Jeffrey. Do we have any questions right now? The only item that I'd like to point out is that this was done in cooperation and collaboration with Oakland County Road Commission. They're the ones that really gave us the list of companies that we should bid with, and they're the ones that are going to be overseeing that with our traffic engineer and our engineering firm. So this was not done just independently within Huron Valley. It was done with the blessing and the approval and the oversight of Oakland County Road Commission. So, all right. All right. Next, I do not have any other public comments. Is that correct? All right. Good and welfare. Yeah. Yes, Laura.
Our annual Kids Heart Challenge is this Saturday. Every single one of our elementary buildings, spearheaded mostly by the PE teachers, sometimes in partnership with the PTAs or whatever parent organization is involved. But the kids get out there and raise money to help with research and support for patients with the American Heart Association. A few years ago, we got a nice plaque for just raising piles of money over the years, and we're doing it again this year. So thank you to all of the PTA teachers and the parents and the kids who have stepped up to raise money for the American Heart Association. I know my family personally appreciates that as a family with folks with heart defects and also with heart disease. So thank you to our kids for really being kind citizens who care about the welfare of others and their willingness to get out there and raise money for the American Heart Association.
What time's that start and where?
I know that my child's school is 1 to 3 in the afternoon. Usually there's a morning session and then an afternoon session. So I believe the morning session probably will start around 11 and go to 1, and then the second session goes from 1 to 3. 4 of our elementaries first and then 4 in the afternoons. If somebody wants to check on that morning session, but I know the afternoon session is 8 to 11 is the first session. Good thing my kid's not the morning session. And then the second session is 1 to 3
And where's it at?
at Lakeland High School in the field house.
Great, thank you. Anything else? For
And
good?
I
Yeah,
do
I'm
have to
sorry.
say, it's a lot of fun.
Yes, it is.
Tons of fun.
Yes,
Yep.
it is. It's a lot of fun watching. Yes. Any other comments? Yes, Amy?
So I just want to point out, you can't see the gentleman in the back, but I'm pretty sure, if my eyes aren't super old, that is our new cameraman, Jay Cotter. Is that correct? There he is. So Jay Cotter is a graduate of Lakeland High School, and I just want to say, welcome aboard.
All right. Anything else?
And he's got a great name.
Yeah, I guess so. Wow. Plus, he had the answers.
He did. He's our fact checker, too.
Good, terrific. Unfortunately or unfortunately, I do have a couple items for under good and welfare. Number one, I want to thank everybody. We all received, I think, packages from our elementary schools for board appreciation. They are amazing. They're amazing. I just had to laugh. I just sat in my office and just read them. In the artwork, absolutely incredible. Priceless, priceless. So thank you, all the elementary. I think my packet included students from Lakewood and Heritage. So on behalf of the rest of the board, I'm sure we have a lot of elementary students watching this board meeting right now. Thank you very much for that. Second, Heather. Heather sometimes must feel like she's herding cats because she worked on this flow chart, or this chart, okay, working with me, and I caused probably more confusion for her than anybody else. But we have PTA meetings scheduled. Dr. Slaw and I are attending each and every one of them, okay? And I sent something out to all of you that all of you are ambassadors. One of our roles is that we're ambassadors to various schools. And what I would like to do is for you to take a look at this list, make certain, one, it's accurate. Two, take a look, and the way you find out if it's accurate is the date and the location, and if you truly are an ambassador. If you can't make it, totally understand. Totally understand. And this has kind of been working around. We've been changing it how many times, Heather? Numerous times, right? So take a look at it. If you're an ambassador and can't make it, let Heather and I know. No big deal. And then what I would do is find somebody else that might wish, based on their calendar, to attend for you. Because, like I said, I'll be there with Paul, but I would like to have at least one board member at each of them, preferably the ambassador, but if it's not, we'll have somebody else. At the middle schools and high schools, we might have more than one ambassador because we have more ambassadors for the middle schools and high schools. So please take a look at the dates, look at your availability, communicate with Heather and I, and then once we hopefully finalize this, we'll at least have this little piece of the puzzle, because I know if we get this puzzle taken care of, Barb has a whole spreadsheet of other activities as it relates to the bond issue that she'll be looking for our assistance with. So this is the first step. And I'm sure that what Barb's working on is a lot easier to coordinate than what you've been working on, Heather. So thank you for doing that. The other piece is I gave to everyone, and I'll provide it to you electronically. We've talked a lot about opportunities for children in AI, artificial intelligence, and Dr. Slaw mentioned some things. I had the opportunity to represent the board at a webinar. It was only an hour in length, but the information that was given as it relates to AI was absolutely incredible. And then I was able to attend a workshop this weekend about high schools and beyond that really incorporated AI. And as Dr. Salah said, it's the future. We need to embrace it, and we need to make certain that it's available for our students and our teachers to use, because it really provides a lot of opportunities, and it is the wave of the future. You can just tell by how quickly it was implemented compared to other types of technology. There's a lot of benefits to it. It's not something that we should be scared of, but we should be aware of. And how is that integrated into our teachers' lives, our community's lives, and our students' lives, because they're going to be living with it. And that's part of that whole training piece. So a lot of great information. I know that John and his staff are looking into it, embracing it, and getting a lot of information about it. And that's all part of that technology, and how we need to be flexible, and how we need to provide the skills and the knowledge that's available for our students. And that's one of the reasons why we're doing the bond issue, is to provide those opportunities. John?
Yeah, I would just say the TLT committee had an opportunity to hear from Derek Bod. He's our instructional technology coordinator, one of our teacher leaders. And Derek has been doing a lot of work with our teachers from across the district in this space. And I do think it's something that we'll be bringing forward to the whole board. You can hear a little bit about the work that they've been doing, but how we're integrating and using AI and using it appropriately across all grade levels and content areas. So more to come on that for sure.
Yeah, and not only in content area, but how it can be a real tool, a time saver for our staff, so they can actually spend more time with their students facilitating instruction. So it works both ways. So I appreciate that comment, but that's why I left that for all of you to take a look at. Anything else under good and welfare? Seeing none, this meeting's adjourned.
Question.